Casimir Pulaski Day, we flip Good Morning KU to a Windy City flavor, a deep dish of Chicago sports pizza coming up next. Welcome in. We bring the Windy City to Lawrence today, Casimir Pulaski Day, a Chicago flair of sports for this show, and some food for our liking here in the Media Crossroads. Jackson Long here with you. Let's touch briefly on some of the Jayhawks action from the weekend. Texas came into town Saturday, and Kansas handled business after being down early, 69-64. There's Perry Ellis to the hoop for a jam as Kansas pulls within 2 in the second half. Right back the other way, Texas goes in transition. It was a up and down game, and Kansas did find itself losing deep into the second half. Here, down 2 points, Kelly Oubre, the hoop and the harm. 7 minutes remaining, and the Jayhawks would take a 1-point lead. Now, in transition, Oubre up to Selden. Selden, the lob to Lucas, and that's the biggest lead of the game. A 5-point lead for the Jayhawks. Perry Ellis paces the way for Kansas. Isaiah Taylor with 17 points for the Longhorns. Kansas with a chance to clinch at least a share of its 11th straight Big 12 title. Tonight, if Iowa State can beat Oklahoma up in Ames. Jayhawks have West Virginia on Tuesday. Both men and women's track and field finished 6th place at the Big 12 Indoor Championships. Senior Kenneth McQueen won the 600 to claim his first career Big 12 title. And now on the women's hoops side, Kansas toppled Oklahoma on the road on Saturday. Kansas Chelsea Gardner led the way with 20 points for the Jayhawks. They get Iowa State tonight in Allen Fieldhouse, the final game during the regular season. We will hop to a quick break and we'll be back with our Chicago sports right after this.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
We now welcome in a trio for our Chicago Sports Roundtable. It is Matt, Nick, and Maddie, also known as Jonathan Tays, and Mike Ditka, and then Brian Urlacher. So we got our full trio here joining us today. We'll start with the Bulls. Poor Bulls. Derrick Rose out with a meniscus tear. Jimmy Butler now with a hyperextended elbow. He has an MRI today. So we'll start with this. Clinging to a half-game lead over the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference for that 3 spot. You want to avoid the Hawks at the top spot. What can we say about the Bulls staying afloat in the midst of all these injury concerns?
Well, they got to get healthy. The biggest concern with the Bulls, not this season, but in previous seasons, has been injuries. They rarely have their starting 5 on the same court together. That's hurt their chemistry a lot. Taj Gibson's hurt. We need him as a big. Jimmy Butler's been our leader all season long offensively. We need him back, and Derrick Rose is the leader of this team. He needs to get back on the floor as well. But despite all the terrible news about these injuries, there's actually been some good news to take away from Derrick Rose because his rehab time will be only 3 short weeks, whereas his previous injuries have been many months. So they did a slight difference in the medical procedure. Instead of repairing the entire meniscus, they just went in and cut off the torn part. So that shortens your rehab time by a significant amount of time, and that's good news for Bulls fans, despite a lot of injuries. So, but they need to get the job done. They have a lot of important games to play, and I think they need to secure that 2 or 3 seed so they can avoid Washington in the first round, who is a matchup problem for them.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the coffin there. I mean, they have 3 of their 6 players of their key players that they bring in are all hurt. And so we can only hope that Derrick Rose comes back early enough to make that nice playoff push, making the transition into the playoffs.
Well, not only that, but that he can play to his full potential because, I mean, mentally he's got to be pretty scarred at this point, scared of getting hurt every time he touches the ball. But the whole team mentally has to stay with it because it's pretty scary knowing, like, half your star players are out. So I think mentally they just need to stay in it too.
Absolutely. Derrick Rose is one of the toughest stretches of luck we've ever seen for a basketball player, and lots of love from the NBA community coming his way as well when he had that injury last week. All right, we'll flip to the Chicago Bears now, and we'll start with you, Coach Ditka, on this one. Jay Cutler, can the Bears win as a playoff team with him at the quarterback spot?
I got one answer for that, and that is no. Because we have seen his inconsistency at quarterback, and I hope in the NFL draft, since the Bears are picking 7th, I hope Mariota falls to them so they can get rid of Cutler, because I do not like him as quarterback. Him and Marshall cannot connect as receivers, and neither can him and Jeffrey. I mean, we just need a different look there at the helm.
Yeah, I mean, the entire roster was a complete mess last season. You know, Jay Cutler, obviously, horrible production for what we were paying him. But I think the real struggle, which is what we got to focus more on, is the defensive side. The last 2 seasons, the Bears ranked dead last in defensive efficiency. And that's not Chicago Bears football, and that needs to change. So I think the focus for the draft is going to be on the defensive side. I think they need to get a safety or a linebacker, because they need to get back to playing defensive-minded football, which is why they went out and got John Fox.
And that's why I hope Briggs and Tillman come back as well, because it was all about the coaching, apparently. They didn't like Trustman being there. So
yeah, I mean, that was just a mess from day one.
So him being there for 2 years set us back, I think, a couple of years.
It set the franchise back significantly.
So now we have to work on rebuilding that defense and getting that offense corrected.
Maddie, we'll take Brian Urlacher's thoughts on the Chicago Bears now.
Well, I just think nobody likes Cutler at this point. Like, Chicago doesn't like him, his team doesn't like him, so I don't really know why we signed him for so long. He's not good for the franchise at all. If you don't even like your quarterback, you don't even believe in that. I mean,
I'm the guy that extended him the GM. He's fired now, so
yeah,
he made his mistake.
Yeah, there were a lot of mistakes made with a lot of long
Absolutely,
contracts.
paying Cutler a lot of money to maybe not get what it is worth in production. Excellent point there, Maddie. We'll go again now to the Blackhawks. More injury bug for Chicago sports team. Patrick Kane falls against the boards and breaks his left collarbone. Just an incredible run of sports injuries in such a short time frame. Excuse me. Let's talk about what Chicago has to do to push itself forward in the Western Conference, and any moves made at the trade deadline as well.
Well, I'm actually not worried about the Hawks now because of what they did at the trade deadline. I was worried when Kane went down, because he'll be down for at least 12 weeks, so that's a long time. But they got 2 forwards at the trade deadline, Kimo Timonen from the Philadelphia Flyers, and Antoine Vermette from the Phoenix Coyotes, both forwards that could fill in the void for Patrick Kane to make that push for the Western Conference playoffs. So I'm not really worried. I mean, we're sitting at 4th in the Western Conference right now, and 2 of the division leaders in our conference, the Blues and the Predators, are 1 and 3 in the division. So our division is tough, but I think we made good moves at deadline. You know, Stan Bowman always comes in the clutch with those signings when we need them. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely a few things that the Blackhawks need to figure out. You know, they haven't really been playing good hockey recently. There have been some reports of some fights breaking out in the locker room, so you obviously don't want to hear about that. I think the Kane injury is hurting them in multiple aspects, but the Blackhawks have been here before. They've found themselves not necessarily at the top of the Western Conference, but still playing really well and still contending. So they usually turn it on in playoffs and play really good hockey then. So I think come playoff time, it's going to be a different Hawks team, but I'm not sure we'll see Patrick Kane suit up again this season.
Fantastic. Maddie, Nick, and Matt, thank you very much. We'll be right back in just a second. Griffin Hughes with Anna Pirano from the Kansas swim team right after the break. Stay with us.
Shalom, I'm Joel.
And I'm Ethan.
And welcome, we're from the Spiel.
It's Jewish news.
Without the schmaltz.
So, Joel, what will we be talking about this week?
This week we're going to be schmoozing about Hamantaschen. We're also going to be discussing the party at Chabad for Purim.
What's a Hamantaschen?
Hamantaschen, it's the triangle, the filling, you know, it's the cookie for Purim.
I'm looking forward to that. But how would you describe Purim?
Purim? It's the... We don't have enough time for that.
No. Describe it as quickly as possible. Tune in every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. for the Spiel.
Welcome back into Good Morning KU. I'm Griffin Hughes, joined by freshman swimmer Anna Pirano. Anna, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we've talked about a lot of sports on the Chicago show. The one we haven't, swimming. And to me, you know, swimmers, I mean, you guys just have such a tough run. I mean, the practices, the diet, like everything that you need to do. How was that for you, just as an athlete?
It's definitely very busy. Being a freshman here at KU, it's definitely kept me busy, kept me very active. I don't know. It's good though. It keeps me, allows me to be involved. I don't know. It's good.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, the KU swim team, they're just back from the Big 12 championships. Is that right?
Yes.
And they took third at the meet that Texas won, both on the men's and the women's side. I mean, they're about as stacked in swimming as they used to be in football. Third place, is that more or less than what you guys were expecting?
We were hoping to get second overall. We had a setback first day. Our relay got disqualified, so we lost a couple points there. So ideally, it would have been great to get second, but we got third.
As far as individuals go, I mean, obviously the team awards, team got third, but individually, how were some of the individuals on the team?
We had 7 silver medals overall. Chelsea Miller, Yıldız Kuchkarova, they were some star swimmers. Chelsea Miller got her NCAA cut in the mile. So yeah, she was definitely a star player.
Now we see a little video of your swimming here, doing the butterfly, if my swimming terms are correct. Is that your favorite stroke?
Yeah, I wouldn't say my favorite, but it's the stroke that I tend to do the most. So.
Very nice, very nice. How did you do in the meet?
I did well. I got 3 out of 3 best times, so I was pretty happy with that.
Now you said you were mentioning to me that there was a couple school records that got set. I mean, were you guys kind of out shooting for that, or was that kind of unexpected?
Yeah, we had 3, I believe, that were broken. Chelsea Miller, Yıldız Kuchkarova, and Bryce Hind. Bryce in the 100 breaststroke, Yıldız in the 200 backstroke, and then Chelsea in the 400 IM. So.
Now, is there any more competitions for the rest of the season?
NCAA's is March 13th, so Chelsea Miller will be going to that. Otherwise, we're done for the season.
Very nice. Any predictions as far as next season goes? This is a long way out.
Our team's pretty young, so I think next year we'll bring in more freshmen, so I think we definitely have a good chance of getting second.
Very nice. Anna Perano, thank you so much for joining us, and obviously great job in the competition. We'll be back with panel number 2, and Jackson talks all things Chicago baseball. Join us after this.
What do you mean? What do you mean my mocha's not here? I'm Ben Allen, seriously. What about here? Is that better? Oh, now my arm's disappearing. Obviously, this is even worse. Make sure you tweet at us at 3InKey on Twitter. I don't know where else you would tweet at us, but you should do that because I'm lonely and I need friends. Please follow me, Ben Allen Sports. It'll make your day better. Probably not. It'll make mine better though. Literally, I'm back again on Good Morning KU for 3 weeks. I'm gonna be coming in, analyzing those teams, telling you what you need to know and why you need to know it. Because I know things. We're going on a trip and our favorite rocket ship. Follow me on that Twitter thing, Ben Allen Sports. So March Madness is coming up. Why am I wearing a Ravens shirt? Because I am a loser. Signing off, Konnichiwa. I'm back.
We are back with panel number 2 of Chicago from the Day. It's Dallas, Mike, and Nick. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. And now we talk about our favorite Jayhawks from the Windy City. So, Dallas, we'll start with you, Dallas from Chicago. How do we view some of the players that have come from the Chicago area or maybe have played professional sports there as well?
Well, overall, I got one rule. New is always better, and I got to go with Cliff. We got all these allegations going on with him right now, but I think Cliff is doing pretty great. NBA worthy, not this year, but in a few years, I think he'll do pretty well there in the NBA, and I think that he's doing great fitting into the KU scheme.
I'm going to go with Sharon Collins. Led the 2008 National Championship team here at KU, so I mean, nothing more to say there than one of the best point guards to ever play Allen Fieldhouse.
Well, not from Chicago, but technically a Chicago affiliation. Kirk Heinrich, one of the Bulls leaders from the 2000s to 2010-ish, or actually right now. He's back, yeah. He came back after Atlanta. He's got a lot of heart. He's really tough. Him and Rondo used to have some great altercations. So I'm going Kirk Heinrich.
Some fantastic players that have either found their way up there, like you mentioned, Mike, but Chicago really a hotbed for college basketball. You also look at Jaleel Okafor, Tyus Jones from the Chicago area playing at Duke, some of the best freshmen in the game right now. We'll flip over to baseball, almost a month. I guess April 5th is the opening day where the Cubs will actually lead off the baseball slate for the entire major leagues. The following day is when the rest of the league will kick off its schedule. Cubs, White Sox, for the first time it seems like both teams could make some noise here in their respective leagues. So, gentlemen, we'll get your thoughts on the acquisitions and then some predictions for the White Sox and the Cubs this year.
Well, I definitely like the Cubs. They had John Lester, which was great, and they got Madden, great pickup. But I think the Sox have the best chance this year when it comes to playoff appearances, and I think maybe the Cubs 2016, they got a great guys down in the farm leagues and the minors. But overall, I think the Sox had the pickups this year. Got Smarja, great number 2 to recap. Way to compliment Sale. I think it's great. Bonifacio, we got Cabrera. All these guys, we were talking, picked up Giovanni Soto. Yeah. I mean, great third string.
Taking all of them.
Yeah, so I think overall.
All those north side guys, no big deal.
I think it's great. I think they have done, debatably one of the best off seasons in the MLB this year.
If you add Samardzija over there, and obviously complimenting Chris Sale, who will only be out about 3 weeks for injury, so look for him to be ready at least within the first couple starts of the season. But Adam Eaton, Melky Cabrera, Jose Abreu, one of the best young talents in baseball. Add in Adam LaRoche, who might hit in that 4 spot. A very talented team from the south side.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they definitely improved their hitting. That was the biggest thing from last year. They had the pitching, they had the starting pitching, but they just couldn't get runs for those pitchers. And we had Sale pitching 8, 9 inning games, and nothing happened. We wouldn't score any runs. We'd have low scoring games. We'd lose 2-1, 3-2, 1-0. I mean, we definitely improved our hitting. That was the key struggle besides our bullpen last year.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. The bullpen was just atrocious. It seemed so many times Chris Sale would come in, throw about 115 pitches, maybe hold him to a run, maybe even none. And it's almost the expectation that the bullpen was going to just let it slip away. You had Zach Duke, who is he's already proven around the league that he can handle high-pressure situations. And then you finally had a true closer in Robinson from the Yankees. So
haven't had a true one since Bobby Jenks.
Oh, the Bobby Jenks era, how great it was.
2007, that was so long ago.
All right, gentlemen, one final question on your Chicago teams. Do either make the playoffs? Do both? Give me the postseason prediction for both the Cubs and the White Sox.
I think for this season, the Sox do have a chance. I'm hoping, hopefully, they go, second. And but Cubs got a few more years, I think, in order for them to finally fully develop as a team, and they got that curse on them. Yeah. So I think that this World Series is never going to happen for the Cubs.
I mean, it's been 110 years since they even been in a World Series, so I think it's highly unlikely that they will be this year. But maybe in a couple years, we'll see. But I mean, the AL Central is one of the best divisions in the major leagues, especially because we saw the Royals get in the World Series last year. And the Tigers, they're stacked. They got David Price in their rotation. Verlander's still great. I mean, it's going to be a jam-packed Central, but the Sox have improved tremendously, so I think that's going to be a division to watch, and I think the Sox get the wild card or they win the division.
And it might just be my South Side bias, but I think that the White Sox have a very good chance to win the AL Central. You saw some of these elite players leave the Central and these other teams. James Shields is gone. Now Scherzer is gone. Those are two names that the White Sox are very happy they will not have to face on the pitcher's mound anymore. The Cubs, they still have the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Reds. It's going to be tough. They're getting better, there's no doubt. And you're right, they do have a lot of good prospects, but I think it's going to take just a few more years on the north side.
Dallas, Nick, Mike, much appreciated. Yes, certainly a muddy AL Central, especially with the Royals maybe playing a little higher than their ceiling was last year. So thank you again, gentlemen, for joining us. We will be back with Sam and Maddie for news after the break.
Hi, I'm Sam Ola.
And I'm Maddie Maloney, and this is your Pulaski Day News Update.
Well, Maddie, before we start, I have a confession to make. I am actually not from Chicago.
You're not?
I'm from the great state of Wisconsin.
Oh!
So I'll be doing this entire news segment in this beautiful Packers tee, if you don't mind. And now you can go with your news.
I'm not really okay with this. A woman gave birth to a baby girl in a car just off the Eisenhower Expressway early this morning, according to the WGN-TV. Javier Sanchez was rushing his wife to the hospital after she started having contractions, but but he had to get off around the highway around 3:40 a.m. in the 90s block of South Austin Boulevard because their contractions intensified. Sanchez helped deliver his baby while also calling 911.
A long-awaited Chicago Transit Authority project to add bus-only lanes and rapid transit-style boarding stations is set to begin in 2 weeks. According to city officials, the project is aimed at significantly faster times for bus trips and a reorganizing of downtown streets so that all users have their own space. According to a study, some downtown buses have been averaging just 3 miles per hour.
Vince Vaughn and Lady Gaga were among the participants in yesterday's polar plunge. The two celebrities helped raise money for the Special Olympics by jumping into the icy waters of Lake Michigan. According to the Chicago Tribune, more than 4,500 people took the plunge and raised over $1.1 million.
Just weeks after Mr. Cub Ernie Banks died, Chicago baseball fans lost another legend this weekend. Mr. White Sox Minnie Minoso died from a tear in the pulmonary artery at the age of 90. Minoso is the only player in the MLB history who played in parts of 5 decades. He broke into the majors in 1949 and played in 2 games in the 1980s.
Residents of Chicago are glad to see the end of the coldest February ever on record. Temperatures at O'Hare International Airport hit 10 degrees below zero on Saturday, dropping the month's average to 14.6 degrees. The low ties February of 1875 as the lowest in Chicago history. Officials also reported 27 inches of snow for the month.
And that's going to wrap it up today's Chicago's Nudes Update. After the break, we'll be back for a special treat from Wayne and Larry's Sports Bar and Grill. Go Pack, go!
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
One of the fastest growing Greek communities here in Kansas.
It is our Taste of Chicago show, so we got the crew behind us eating some yummy food from Wayne and Larry's. We appreciate that. Pulaski Day, he was born in Poland and eventually came over to the United States to help the Americans during the Revolutionary War, thus making him a hero. He was actually the first commander of an American fully trained cavalry, often called the father of American cavalry. So there's your history on Casimir Pulaski. Once again, we appreciate you joining us this morning on Good Morning KU for a very special and definitely a taste of Chicago kind of day. So have a wonderful Monday and enjoy.